check it, but unlock that one. So the silver key is the one that will do these locks.
Yeah.
You see it's got the little unlock symbol, and then just push the button, it will come open. So engine bay, hydraulic pump area, etc., etc. This here is your engine oil check. So if we're on a level surface, you're going to pull it out, wipe it clean, put it back in, and just normal old. You've got your marks. You've got your marks here, so as long as you're seeing it somewhere between the marks,
yeah.
good. If you do need to top it up for some reason, it's under here.
Yes.
So you would simply just unscrew this little bit here. A little bit awkward on the hands to start with. Pull it off, fill up the oil, and then just push it back in, and then just tighten it back up. And that will stop oil coming back out of it.
Yep.
So you've got that, you've got your hydraulic oil, which is your slope fast here. So as long as you can see oil, should be about halfway. Again, we're on an angle, okay, so it's going to look more than what it should be.
Yep.
But you've got hydraulic oil there. Up here, you've got your coolant.
So sorry if I, where am I filling up here?
Yep. Point. Should open this one up, so.
Okay, just there.
Yep. So you're just going to twist the cap. Put some oil in there.
Cool.
So it does take a specific grade of 46 weight hydraulic oil. When we do the first service, we might leave a little bit with you.
Yep, cool.
Okay, so you've got some there. So the first service is 50 hours. So after it's done 50 hours, we need to do a service on it.
Yep.
Okay. Seeing as we're standing here, so this is your mud pump here. You do have a sight gauge at the back there for the power end of the mud pump. There's a little bit more to see.
A sight
You
gauge.
see the brass thing?
Yes.
And if you look down the bottom of it, you can see there's an oil level about an inch up from the bottom.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Kind of look through the bottom and you can see through the side. It's a little bit awkward because it's on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just want to make sure there's oil in that. And when you look at it, you want to make sure it's not milky. Okay, if you got water into that from the fluid end of the mud pump,
Yeah.
it could cause problems. So
Okay.
it should just look really similar to what the hydraulic one does.
Yeah. So if that's low, where am I filling that one?
It's a bit of a pain. This shouldn't use oil, but behind, if you stick your hand behind, you'll see there's a filler cap just on top behind that tank there.
Okay.
That shouldn't use any oil. That's something that we should service every time we service it,
Okay,
and
cool.
it shouldn't lose oil.
Yep.
So it shouldn't be something you need to do.
Something to keep an eye on.
Yep, just check that sight glass, and that's all we need to worry about. Mud pump, so if you saw muds, if you're using muds or waters, whatever you're using around this area, that would indicate that the mud pump's leaking. Okay, so whether it's down and through here, or in between these two bits here, that would indicate a problem with the mud pump. Okay, so you're just looking to see is there sort of mud residue lying around. This is technically it's an antifreeze tank, so if you're in a cold environment, you need to antifreeze the fluid system to stop it from freezing and cracking. I'd suggest you leave some fresh water in there, and then you've got, it's not much, but it's a little bit to be able to wash something down with it at the end of the day if you had to.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to use fluid out of here, clean fluid, you would open this tap on the bottom here, okay? But before you open that, you'd come around here, and you would turn this tap here off.
Yeah.
That's going to power up the water blaster, which does the water blaster come out with it? Yep. So you plug your water blaster in, and then you'll be able to water blast, and it'll be using the water out of that tank.
Yeah.
You've got a little bit, enough just to do a little bit of cleaning if you had to. Just remember, if that's in that position, the fluid won't come out the drill. Okay, so your gauge on your drill will show maximum pressure, and nothing will happen, but you stop the flow from going anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so you just got to, like this, that's the first thing you check. And then you've got fluid coming out of there.
Cool.
Okay, so you've got the valve on the bottom, and then that one there. Show you this, because this little valve here, the yellow indicator, everybody likes putting a spanner on it and turning it, and I love it too. I send you a bill for about $1,500 to replace it. It's an indicator, okay? It's not something you turn. It will turn when you turn it off and on, but if you try and turn it, you'll break it, and I go through it, so I get to see some parts. Okay, so it's an indicator. Basically, in the joystick, once you push your fluid on, that will turn to open. Okay. And it will go off and on when you open and close your front wrench as well.
Yeah.
So just don't let anyone put a spanner on it, or you're going to be buying beers that week. Yes, you can see a bit more of the fluid stuff down there, but there's nothing else in here that you would need to watch out for. You've got your fan here. Obviously, you don't want to stick your fingers in there unless you want some time off work. It's driven by a hydraulic motor, so it will rev up and down depending on the temperature of the machine. Okay? So sometimes you might hear it saying roar. That's okay, but it shouldn't stay raw.
Yeah.
And when I say raw, like it's deafening. Okay,
Yeah.
it's like an aeroplane taking off. So if you ever hear it just go, something's not right.
Okay.
This one you can see, I'll take this off just because, but up in here you've got your sight glass for your expansion tank. So this tank up here is where your radiator fluid is, and then it pulls down into the radiator from there. You've got your cap up the top. Sure there's a
I see a
hole up
cap.
there. Yeah, there is.
Cap.
You can get in from the top as well when there's a cap up there. Obviously it's a pressurized tank, so don't ever take it off, it'll spurt in your face and it'll spoil it. Okay, so and again, you really shouldn't have to go into here, you know, unless something's wrong with the machine.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit hard to see because it will be like a dark bluey kind of a fluid.
Yeah.
Because we're on a lean at the moment, it's going to be over full on the gauge, so you can't even see the difference.
Yeah.
But you will normally be able to see like a bluey coloured fluid in there. Down in here, it's just a hydraulic pump. I mean, if you are taking this panel off, just quickly look in there. Does it look like there's any fluid leaking? If not, then sweet as, that's really what you have to worry about.
Great.
So this one's just got little dowels in the bottom here, you line up. They just go in those holes there. Just like that.
Cool.
Put it up there. You can't see through there without taking that off. We'll keep working our way forward. If you run out of fuel, which I hope you don't, but you've got the plunger pump here, so you'll have to pump this until you've got like some resistance against it, and then it will get fluid through. You don't need to bleed anything, so you don't want to crack like any injector lines. It's very bad. You definitely don't want to do that. Just pump this up until it's hard, crank it. It'll take a little bit of cranking, and then it will fire back into life.
Cool.
We've got some filters, so you're just looking over these filters here, just make sure there's nothing that's leaking. Same around your hydraulic pump area. As long as you don't see fluid anywhere, you're typically pretty good.
Yep.
You can wash in here if you want to wash it down, keep it looking mint. Obviously these are our computers and things, so don't sit here and blast into here, or you will damage them. If it splashes up, no worries, but you just don't want to go right here. You can clean down around here, where there's no This switch, what tape on this do not change. You definitely don't want to change it, okay? Don't let people take that tape off. So technically this machine is what we call an all-terrain machine. So it's for drilling, if you set it up the right way, it's for drilling rock, where it's got a dual rod machine, okay? This is not set up like it. You have to change that switch to damage things.
Okay.
Just got to make sure that this stays, it's got to stay in JT. And then these two here, if something happens with the electronics on the machine, and they fail, for example, these two here will let the engine rev up with this one, and this one will turn that fan on. So it's like a limp mode, you know, you get out of wherever you are. You have to use this one to rev the machine up and down, and this one to turn the fan on so that it actually cools the machine. So that there. Battery master switch, so you're just turning the master switch off. You don't ever want to turn that off when the key is on. If you do what's called flashing the computers, which means that you'll make them forget who they are.
Probably with the other one.
Yeah. You might get away with it if you're lucky, but more often than not you flash the computers and then we've got to come out and reprogram stuff and send the boss man a big bill because he's grumpy. Yeah, that's kind of all in there. You got your strike cable, which is just like a 220. Okay, so you want to put the stake in the ground, unwind that fully, it's about 3 meters, hit it in the ground and put it in. If you don't put that in the ground properly, the strike system on the drill doesn't work. Okay, so that has to be, you know, outside preferably, fully extended in the ground, and then you just put the old voltage limiter on there. If you do damage that cable, and these can be a bit of a pain because of where they are, but that cable can't be repaired. Okay, if you try to repair it, it won't work properly, so you would need to replace it.
Sorry. When we park the machine up, do we need to turn off the battery there?
You can do, yeah. I mean, yeah, you don't have to. But if you add a safety feature, you want to turn it off. Oh, you want to turn the key off, definitely. Have the key in your hands. If it was me, I would probably come around and flick that off and then lock up all your bonnets. You know, because you've added layers, really. In this one, you've got your battery. Another trick, it's got 2 batteries. Everybody looks and goes 24 volts, and then they jump start it. And I really laugh in that case because it's about 15 grand to replace all your computers. Okay, so it's a 12 volt system. So you only start it with 12 volts. The reason it has 2 is just to give it more power. Okay, but only ever 12 volts on this machine if you should ever have to jump start it. otherwise there's nothing in there that means anything. We'll come to the cab last. So you've got a rod wiper would have come with the machine. So when you're reaming, your rod wiper would go over your rod there, and then this will push back down over it. And I'll show you when you ream. Yeah. I mean, do you guys normally leave it on, or do you take it off and put it back on?
We normally in the auto leave it on.
Okay. I like that too, because it wears out very quickly. It's not a split one?
No.
Okay. So the split ones are really easy.
Yeah.
You don't need them when you drill out. All you're doing is wearing it out. Like I say, I like it when you buy more parts, but I would just leave it until you pull that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that will sit under there. These black ones in here. So you've got these black pipe guides here. There's some in here as well, 2 half ones here, 2 half ones in here. They kind of help sort of centralise things, and they also stop the rods from wearing on the frame of the machine. So the easiest way to damage your drill pipe is it touches the frame and it starts wearing grooves in it.
Yeah.
If you get a groove that just your fingernail will pick up, that's enough to make your rods fail. Okay, so they're important that you keep them good. You can flip them sometimes, you know, the top one to the bottom.
Yeah.
You can do that, that's fine. That already comes down to your setup and how good a setup you do with whether they come into effect or not. You want to be careful with that. Inside here is your strike coil. So with that strike system, and 2020 is the same, if you're used to Vermeer, they've got the zap alerts. Yeah. So we've got what we call an ESID, electronic strike indicator display, ESID. Same thing, it measures voltage and current. When you reach a certain criteria of either, the alarm will go off.
Yeah.
Okay. If the alarm goes off, you've had a strike. Until somebody you trust comes and says it's okay, you just stay put the gap and chill out.
Cool.
Okay. Conversely, when everybody comes up to the drill, and I'm the world's worst, I'll sit like this and go, how's it going? I've never done the first one, so it's not a big thing. I really want people touching the drill while you're drilling. If this gets damaged, which again, if your alignment's wrong, you can wear down into it, it'll just cause that to fail. So just something to be aware of. Your grease is the same. Your grease bucket, exactly the same as 20 inside the tail. Follow it. You need to make sure you take that out of your bucket and put it in your bucket. Again, they're about $500. I love it. Throw it out. Get another one. But you want to take that out because that helps squash the grease to the bottom and lets it work.
Yep.
You can obviously buy grease from lots of different places. Our experience will show us that if you don't use the ditch witch stuff, it won't squirt out the nozzle properly. Nozzle down there. That's the greasing system. If it does become blocked on the nozzle, then you've got that black tap. All you want to do is turn that. Shall we go this way? Turn it 180 degrees.
Yep.
So around like that. Operate it a couple of times. It'll sort of cough and splutter, and then turn it back the other way, and then you'll come right. What you don't want to do is pull that black bit out of it. Okay.
Yep.
There's a little orifice inside of it that you lose. So you're simply just turning that around.
Yep.
And it should, when you squirt it, it should like. If it just goes then it's probably the wrong way around.
Yep.
Okay. You've got your wrench inserts in here. You know, probably not something that you deal with, but if you find when you're changing rods, things start to slip, it probably needs some wrench inserts in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Straight down, we'll come back to. So at the moment, we've only got the short rod box on until that full one turns off. Okay, so normally you've got 50 rods instead of
31,
yeah. So that will be here in the new year, and we'll be fitted up with that.
Gotcha.
These here are used. It's always a little bit complicated to explain this. These are used to hold the rods up so that you can put your pins in. So the way the ditch witch machine works is we'd always have two rods in the chute, is what we call it, right? So there's always 2 rods, and then you've got whatever's in the rod box above it.
Okay.
So I think in this you've got 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think you've got 5 high,
Yeah.
and you need to have 2 in your chute. Those 2 should always stay there. So when you move your rod box, you're still going to have 2 here.
Oh, okay, yeah. I saw there was more in this last one.
Yeah, there is, and there's always those 2 kind of, like I say, they're below here
Yeah.
in the chute. If you don't leave those 2 there and you move the pipe box, everything just falls down and it's not the best thing for the machine. So you're always 2 in the chute. And what that means is if those 2 rods were there, you wouldn't be able to put that pin in.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you do is you lift the rods all the way up with your rod lifters, and then you put these in. Okay, that holds the rods up, and then you can put these pins in.
Yeah.
So when you want to do it the you would, so when we take them out, which we're going to have to do, we're going to take the pins out first, then we're going to lift the rod lifters all the way up, and then we'll be able to pull these out. And you need a bar normally to get them out. You know, it's a little bit of resistance because they get jammed in between two rods.
Okay.
But those are what those are for. Really, once you've done it once, you probably don't need to do it again, unless you're a stickler for putting those pins in when you transport the machine, which, personal preference, I would suggest it personally, but personal preference.
Yep.
If you wanted to put those pins in, then you have to use the yellow ones as well. The ones at the back there as well. This switch here is used for if you're adding pipe, so the back of the shuttles there opens up and you can manually put some pipe in it.
Oh, yeah.
I won't explain it to you now because it's a little bit confusing, but this switch would disable somebody from going into the cab and moving it while you're moving it.
Yeah.
Just to make life really confusing, if somebody does move that, it comes up with a real obscure fault code on the screen, and I forget what it says, but it's really random, and it normally makes us go, what the hell is that? And then we go, oh yeah, that's right, someone flipped the switch. But if you go to use your shuttles and they don't work, and you've got some funny message on the screen, just come and check that. That's normal.
Yep.
That's blocking it from working.
Okay.
Okay, so it should always be in that position, unless you're doing something to move some things around. Diesel there at the back, so you're pulling the diesel just in here.
Nice.
There is oil in the rotation gearbox, so you've got your tube there. You can see the levels just here at the moment, which is exactly where it needs to be. So you have a look at that, make sure there's no kind of oil leaking from anywhere around that system.
Yeah.
I'll show you something on the front once we run the machine.
So if that's low, where am I filling that, or is it just the same hydraulic?
No, that's got gear oil in it, and again, it's not something that would be easy for you to add to. There's a plug up the front here that we would come through, or we would take out like the breather. It doesn't actually have like a accessible port. That's more simple for us. The hose track through here, it always, I mean, it's okay when it's new, but once you get a few hours on it, you always just want to make sure that everything looks smooth. You know, these can bend and get tangled up, and they'll start breaking these rollers. So you just want to be a little bit careful with that at the time. Particularly in the machine, it's too bad. And into the back, this is your tracker control key.
Yep.
So with the electronics on the machine, I think Leah's got something. You can lock it out. So once you've drilled out and you're changing your tools, the guy with the tracker at the other end could lock the machine out. That's used as part of that circuit. It only works with sub-site electronics, not with your DCI stuff. But what's important is if I take that out, then you'll see the green light on the front of the drill. So if you look at this green light, this is something that happens, or sometimes it vibrates and falls out, and it will stop rotation of thrust on the carriage.
Oh, yeah.
You can see how the green light's flashing.
Yeah.
So that tells you that somebody's disabled the drill.
Okay.
That may have just fallen out. Someone might have taken it out because they want to go home early. So yeah, that's what the
Is
tracker
that the
control
only
is.
reason that green light will go on?
Yep. And it does have a bulb, so it's not foolproof that the light's going to come on.
Okay, yeah.
Because sometimes the bulb might blow and then it looks like it's okay, but it's actually not.
Yeah.
But yeah, that always wants to be in that position, otherwise your carriage functions won't work.
Gotcha.
This one we don't use for anything. These two here, if this tether should stop working, or even if it doesn't, actually you can use them any time.
Yep.
You can just use those to operate the tracks on the machine. Okay.
What's that one?
That is not used. That's part of the engine, but it's not used for anything.
Okay.
Yeah. And the tether here, the ground drive tether is what we call it. You've got a dead man on the back. So as long as you're holding the dead man, throttle up and down,
Yep.
high and low ground drive. If it's in the middle, nothing works. So you're either all the way down or all the way up. And then you just put it on. Emergency stop.
Cool.
4 levers here. These two here are your rear stabilizers.
Mhm.
These other two here are to move the drill frame up and down.
Yes.
And it pivots from 2 places.
Yeah.
So you can use them both together and get it quite low and shallow, or get it quite high and steep.
Yeah.
Have a play and you'll sort of see how it moves.
Cool.
It just gives a better setup angle.
Yeah.
That's all it does. And that's kind of
Are there grease points?
No grease points.
Cool.
No grease points. So better or for worse, Ditch Witch don't believe in grease points. Yeah. They use a special kind of bush,
Yeah.
so it doesn't have to be greased.
Okay, cool.
Which is all good until it does have to be replaced. The orange light there is the strobe light for the SID system, the strike system.
Yeah.
So if that's going off, the alarm will be going off. That's when you know you've had a strike.
Yeah.